Okay, thanks for being here. This is a talk about the Faalmap project, Faalkaart in Dutch. And it asks me for my SpaceNet account again and again and again. So, and that is a map that shows the state of security of organizations. In this map shows municipalities in the Netherlands, and it shows the most basic, simple kindergarten level of securing your infrastructure. And you see how well they are doing it. Not too well. What do we check on? With this map you see TLS, and you see basic server headers, such as HSTS, that it forces a secure a connection to the website, and a few others. And there's really, when we started in September last year, this was the result of our first scan, so it sucks. This project started 2 years ago. It started at a conference with all kinds of people that worked at or security officers that work at municipalities, and that they have the job to fix all this stuff. And I was there I was there as part of a sponsor deal, so I was the guy that was like the sponsor pays a lot of money, so somebody from the company can tell something and look important. I hate those kind of deals because that's usually a Muppet that doesn't know anything. So what I did 3 days in advance, I made a map of the Netherlands which does exactly this, just to have an impact at the conference, and it worked. That map is really old. You can browse through history, and you see that we only did TLS checking in the beginning. The map then was also very red, and in 1 weekend they fixed 150 TLS issues. So it seemed like a project that would actually have an impact, and it would be useful to do. So what I did was request funding for developing and making sure this project stays alive until the end of time. And those things are really hard. The first thing is actually pretty easy. I asked the SIDN funds, the Dutch domain register. They have a nice fund for everybody that has a nice project that increases the quality or resilience of the Dutch internet. You can basically ask, and they will give you a grant for up to 75,000 euros. So that's a nice lot of money. I did so too, together with Twan and Ilko, and we got granted 71,000 euros, so we can work on this for at least a year or two. So that's awesome. And we have stickers and this nice banner and whatnot, because yeah, why not? Today also t-shirts arrived, which Akita's made, Johan made, those beautiful F, and it has a slogan: comply or die. This XL, please. Okay, we take orders after the show. The funny story is that once we started to roll out this version of Faalmap in last September with updates, it got a lot of response. So if the mouse is still in the sort of correct position, I should be able to show the map over time. Of course it doesn't work because it's a demo. La demo. Let me fix that. come on. Okay. It should work now. Now you see the end result instantly. Yeah, okay. So we rolled out in September last year after a lot of work, which I'm going to show you. And municipalities started working again and started fixing things. So you see, it sort of gets better and more green and more orange. So that's a good thing, right? They wouldn't have done this otherwise. So this is something. It moves. It actually, whilst a lot is still red, about 2,000 vulnerabilities got fixed in the past months because of this project, which is nice. There are also, there are some things that we cannot check automatically, and there are some bugs, and there's also municipalities that think they have fixed something, but they didn't, and therefore they don't want to do anything until we have investigated the issue. That costs a lot of time, so it might be a little bit more greenish, but well, it still sucks. But we're working on it, and it does make an impact. So I'm happy with that, and we are all happy with that. So the comply or die story is that municipalities started crying like, oh, you are far too strict and you enforce security like we have to do it. And we are like, and they said like, comply or die is not the way you should be doing this. So we adopted comply or die as a slogan. Our WhatsApp, and now we have nice t-shirts with comply or die. Our WhatsApp group also has the title "Comply or Die." This is funny. So the harder the outcry, the more outcry, the more fun we have, basically. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to sit down now and show you what we did over time and what we have to do in the next few months to make sure this project stays relevant. Oh, okay. First off, it's very hard to discover how many domains there are. There are several tricks to find subdomains. So, for example, if you look at Amsterdam, they have like 250 domains or something like this. There's no number, but they have about 700 vulnerabilities and on these 250 domains. So how do you find all these domains? And there are several tricks for this. The first one is that we look in the certificate transparency report. All the big vendors that give that you pay for certificates or to have TLS certificates, they publish domains. So they publish a lot of subdomains of municipalities, and we just scrape them and add them to the list, and then they will be scanned automatically. Another way to find subdomains, is to search on the internet. So we have automated a script that searches Google and Bing and some other less relevant search engines to find subdomains.
Lesser relevant than Bing?
Yeah, less relevant than Bing, yes. I don't know what they are anymore. What we also do is there's something called DNSSEC. That is a technology that is supposed to guarantee that if you type in Faalkaart.nl that it actually resolves to us and not to somebody else. And this technology has some features. One of them is that you can see, I think the explanation was the room between the domains, the empty space between subdomains that are registered or something like that. I don't know, because somebody automated it already. So you basically asked, what are the subdomains of Amsterdam? And it gives you the entire list of all subdomains of Amsterdam. Really awesome. There's also, it works really well. There's also another version of DNSSEC that has NSEC3 hashes of either this empty space or the subdomain name. And those need to be correct. They're semi-public, because you don't want to have your public infrastructure that you have on the internet known to the rest of the world, right? So you have to make it somehow secret and hidden. Luckily, those can be cracked and through a word list, which we might have because we have a few thousand subdomains here, and every organization uses one, or the whole set of subdomains are usually the same, such as portal or remote or whatever. So that's easy to brute force, and otherwise you can just brute force using these standard brute force tricks. Another way to get subdomains is via the email. There are municipalities that say, hey, we have got this service, please add it to the map. Yay, that's really cool. We don't run our own DNS server yet. Maybe that might be interesting, but I don't know how much work is involved. We never checked. So this is just the front end. And it started out with a very raunchy PHP script. One PHP script and a database, MySQL database, and this is something much more robust. And let me show you what infrastructure we have. For example, this interface, there's a nice admin interface behind this that's written in Django, and this is how what the admin interface looks like. And you see a lot of things. We've got a feature to do some caching optimization. And this is like if you worked all day and changed ratings and all kinds of other stuff by hand, you just hit the button and it updates the map with all the work you did. There's insight in how much workers we have. We've got a couple of workers, so every time we scan, there's like 8,000 domains we scan every day, and those are distributed to workers somewhere. And you can see here the workers, and you can see how many tasks are queued for them. So one worker is only doing the Qualys TLS scan. Qualys provides a service that is of very high quality to tell about what is how good your TLS is. But the problem is that it's rate limited. We can only have one query per minute, so it's very slow. And using this architecture, we might have in the future more workers on more machines, so we can do a lot more at the same time. You see things that you might expect here, such as organizations. You see what URLs they have, just like on the map, and you can edit them the way you like. You have some GeoJSON structure that shows what the shape should be on the map. In the future version, you have GeoJSON structures over time, which is awesome because the Netherlands constantly changes, and every year the villages move from one municipality to the other. Some municipalities disappear. So that's something that we are trying to automate away using OpenStreetMaps. And here you see the ratings over time. And this is the beautiful button with the pink shiny unicorns, blah. that builds this thing over time. So we've also got a thing called promises. When an organization says, we are going to fix this for sure, then we can add a promise here. We wanted to call it lies, but that's not very friendly. So, so here you can add a promise and tell something about, oh, they're really going to fix something at a certain point, and the promise appears on the website at that moment in time. There's a lot of URLs, of course, and that's not really interesting. But you can say, oh, here for this URL, I want to perform a certain scan. If you want to do this manually, of course, this happens every day automatically. And then we've got a few scanners, and we've currently have 6 different scanners, one for TLS, a few for server headers, and one for, I'm forgetting, screenshots. Just make screenshots of websites, because if you look at this this thing, there's even more. There's also nice statistics. Maybe I should have shown this before. And you see here that the amount of organizations that are doing well is increasing. You see statistics over time. You see especially the domains that don't have any encryption at all is still 256. So. And when we started out, it was about 300, so they can do better. But you see, things are getting lower slowly. You see statistics over what are the organizations that have the most problems, and usually also have the most subdomains, and that have the most subdomains and domains and that don't have any problems at all. So it's just Vlissingen. You can also see what changes have been made in the statistics. So you see only the changes. We do a lot of scans, but it makes sense to only show changes. And you see that in TLS, nothing really changes. This is TLS updates. Lastly, there are nice reports, and here you can see what's wrong. You could do a second opinion. You can look up at Wikipedia what you're doing wrong, how you should fix it. And for Amsterdam, this list just goes on and on and on and on. It's like your 200-page report if you want to print it. So, and some information about the project, how it works. So that's the software that we have running. But wait, there's some more. So here you can see we find endpoints of a URL. So if you have hackerhotel.nl, we expect that there are usually 4 endpoints. There's one endpoint. There's 2 endpoints on IPv4, 2 endpoints on IPv6, and one of the endpoints goes to port 80, one to port 443, the secure one, and the one on port 80 redirects to the secure one. That's how it should work. I don't know if that makes any sense, but to you, but every port that's open on an IP version is an endpoint, and that's what we find here. And we check also some other ports just to see if there are any other interesting things, such as port 8080. It sometimes has nice services that are not secured at all. What we also store is then all the scans over time. So here are the TLS scans, and you can see that if we sort it on scan moments, so this is from March 2016 to today. It only stores changes, again, because otherwise we would have massive amounts of data and that would not be we couldn't work with this, so we only store changes. And here, this is the same as you see on the website. So only this rating B gets translated to something fancy with a nice message and such. So that's the admin interface. Then we have, let me check this. Hold on. One moment. Oh, cool. We have what should I do now? We've got Grafana to check all the. No, it's not a certificate error. It's asking for my certificate. So if you join the group and you want to develop something, you get a certificate and you can just log in here. And here, this is something that might take a while because it's a lot of information.
The tasks one is quicker.
The what?
Tasks.
Come up. I'm already too late. It's
close it, reopen it again. That's why I created a task dashboard.
It's gone. So you see all the tasks that are running. Where is it?
Top one and then tasks.
There we go.
It's a little less fancy, but then maybe expand the time to 2 days.
You see that we're running all kinds of tasks that are performing scans, and you see that there's a lot of room to do even more. So expansion to other countries and other branches of government or any other organization that processes privacy sensitive information might be relevant. We also have the GitLab repo. So everything that we do, all code is all public, and we try to make it as easy as possible to join and as easy as possible to clone your own project. So if you go to there's some repositories, but this is the one that we do most work on. This is the website itself. Of course, I forgot to add the README here. But here it says how to, it should be on the front page, but here it says if you do these, if you clone the project, run dir and docs and then film app, you have your own implementation with data that you saw on the website. Only the data is a few months old. So you've got the exact same thing running, which is pretty nice, given that there are a lot of dependencies that are added or that make up this software. We have got a lot of other repositories as well. One is here you store all the certificates that we hand out, so that's also public. Of course, it's encrypted, but yeah. All the websites we have. We also have a nice website that shows it's a static website about the project, which has the same quick start. And we have a development blog, but I just found out it doesn't work anymore, so I have to find out why. Because it should be a static website, and it says something about the infrastructure and what we did in the project in the last few months. And we have a static website about the foundation, because this project is run by the Internet Cleanup Foundation, and it's just a nice website that shows what we do in the mission and etc. So did I cover everything?
Sentry, maybe?
Oh yeah.
That's a nice one to show.
So if something goes wrong here on for example, somebody visits the website and it crashes, JavaScript errors, or something goes wrong in the backend or in one of the tasks, every of these errors are visible in Sentry. So we got fans in the house. So this is a really nice tool because it removes the invisibility cloak when you deploy something. And here you can see all the issues that we also have resolved. For example, this one, there was a SQL error somewhere on some tasks. Yeah, good luck finding that one with Sentry. That's really easy. Because here it is really convoluted interface that makes sense if you look at it for a few minutes. You can see the actual query that's being run, and you can see that's where it's wrong, and you see that it goes wrong because of the empty in statement. So okay, then we fix this, and then what we do is then we if we want to develop something, we just check out do the checkout, just change the code, and then a lot of quality tools are run, so to enforce that the right syntax is used and that you use the right that you have to don't use weird or don't have unused dependencies and such. And those are if you do that correctly, then you can merge it into the master branch, and then it gets deployed on the server with one command. It's really nice. So I don't have a demo for this, but it's really easy to get your stuff live, and I can show that too.
Pipeline in GitLab.
Yeah. So if you for the film web project.
CI/CD pipelines.
So if you check something in, a lot of stuff happens. Let's do this one. So the syntax is being checked. The data set you add is being checked against SQLite, MySQL, and Postgres. An integration test is run. The unit tests are run, and these two I don't know.
They test the same unit tests, but then against the different database implementations. So if there's discrepancy in the database, then between versions, that we detect it with this. And we detect it with these tests.
Okay.
The same with the data sets. If you have like a data set and it's not compatible with MySQL or something like that, we will know it.
Well, then the software gets built, it gets placed into a staging environment, and from there you can say, I want to have this live or not. So we can look at one of these things, such as the syntax check, and see that it runs on, what's it called again? I forget it all the time. Or was that the backup? Was it the CI environment, the CI tool?
Python, bedoel je?
Nee, die andere. Ik ben even...
Palama.
Nee, die andere. Okay. Doesn't matter. But you can see it happens. All that stuff happens automatically once you check in, and there's if you comply to all those rules and everything works, then you can deploy and see if it actually works, and be fairly sure that it's okay, and well, go to live. So you can have something live within like 10 minutes. That's really nice. With having some reasonable assurance that it still works. But if it doesn't work, which sometimes happens, the front end doesn't die. So if you look at the uptime of this website, it's 100% up in the last 30 days. And that's because, that's very good. So because there's several layers of caching that make sure this website just stays live until you really are sure that it actually works. So, and then you can force and clean the cache, and then because the website is like reasonably fast over 4G. So a lot of time was spent to make sure that's happening. So that's everything about the infra. If you we're looking for a few things in this project because we want to make sure that everything is tested, that at least everything is tested that the municipalities and government wants to have tested. So we're currently missing a DNSSEC scanner. We want to show if the municipality uses DNSSEC or not. It's a requirement by the Dutch government, so if they don't, then they, I don't know, they don't get fined for it, they don't get anything, they don't get in trouble for it, I think. So that might change over time. And also, we don't have a scanner yet for SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, all the email validation stuff. So we're looking for people that would like to write a scanner in Python and that scans for these things if they exist or not. One thing that is not mandatory, but I think it's easier and funnier, is to check if there are Telnet and FTP services available on all those domains.
RDP.
And RDP. At least everything that's not encrypted, and to test if it's not encrypted without logging in, because then you're doing something that you can get a criminal record for. So if you scan for Telnet services, then it's instantly red. So maybe then the map is more red again. That's we hope to make the map more red. Question?
Maybe.
Maybe it's a good idea to just feed the IP address to Shodan.
The problem with Shodan is that it's not legal in the Netherlands. We cannot show the Shodan results on this website.
Okay.
Or have that as a second opinion, because it does more than just showing what services are available. So if we go to Shodan, we might aid in helping, or the goal is to make municipalities safer in a meaningful way, not to tell you have to run these commands to exploit the services that are running here. So that's why we cannot do that. So those scanners, those we really would like to have. And there's also some non-technical things, like we would like to make sure this software is rolled out in other countries as well. And we first thought Germany would be a nice country to roll this out. There's a lot of German hackers, but the German government is such a chaotic bureaucratic mess that it's really hard to understand where they do anything at all. So after one day, we just no, we're not. Someone else might do it.
Yeah, just a question about the scanners. Are you scanning for? You said scanning for email records in DNS, but are you scanning for TLS at SMTP ports or something like that? Is that in the plan? And is it any useful?
I don't know. It's not in the plan right now. We do want to check if mail servers are running TLS. They should.
Yes.
But there's a lot of discussion about how to correctly check for this, especially as they tend to say that email doesn't need to be, it's not really important that email is encrypted, it's more important that email gets delivered. So even if we say that the Dutch government doesn't force it yet, we can of course add it to the map because we do want to have that enforced. It might lead to a lot of loss of email for a short time if they fix it. So yeah, why not?
If they have a valid certificate, it's not a loss of email.
No, but the other side also has to talk TLS, and there's the problem.
Yeah, that one checking is very difficult, I think.
Regarding SMTP and TLS,
it's not mandatory for a mail server to only speak TLS. So you, I think if at least a mail server is offering TLS to the client, that's already better than not having TLS at all or forcing TLS on all mail. You should at least have the possibility to securely deliver an email, and it should maybe not enforce. I don't know what the Dutch laws are on it, but you can configure TLS server to accept both kinds of traffics on the same port. So you don't lose email, but you offer security to those who want it.
So yeah, but basically what we can add and what is relatively simple is to scan for all ports that are not encrypted. That's doable. But then you get other challenges. If you make a port scanner, there are some municipalities that have tools that show random open ports and such, so you have to do this in a little bit smarter way. So if we scan things, we scan them in a random order, and we tend to spread out scans over time. You saw that it was not the case, but we did do that. So not to flood municipalities with a lot of data at a short time. But that's one part. The technical part is something that we really need help with. And the other part is to roll it out in other countries. We are thinking about France because it also has a similar structure of government as the Netherlands. It's easier. Also talking with other privacy-minded organizations, presenting at conferences. If you're better at presenting at conferences than me, then please do. So that's the main part for this project is now making sure this stays alive in a year or 2 or 4 or 10. So that's what we're doing right now. So if you want to join, you've seen the GitLab repository. You can just clone it and request access to or do a pull request, and your code can be merged. You can also get a certificate, so you can view actually the stats and the admin interface and whatnot. You can then join the WhatsApp group. We have a small WhatsApp group with the team that we show all the things that we cannot show. Something I cannot show, for example, is tickets, the contents of the tickets. So we get a lot of, there's a nice service desk in GitLab. And here you see that there are emails like, you have to recheck this and recheck this and recheck this. And some of these emails are really long and really, yeah, that's where the comply or die thing comes from. But most of them are really okay, and they just explain, if we look at this service and we do this and do this, then it's okay. So sometimes they do deliver us bugs that we have to fix. Sometimes they say you have to fix it because we say so. We don't, of course. Yeah, and that's basically it. Let's see what's happening here. Blah blah blah. Well, there's a lot of these emails, so that's a lot of work to just check what they're on about and if this is correct or not. Maybe we should just open up this whole thing just so everybody can see what's being submitted to the project. Saves a lot of time.
Everybody can respond.
Yeah, so everybody can respond. Usually these are confidential. So, but there's not really any personal or privacy sensitive information in it. So it's not anymore. Yeah. So if you want to, yeah, there's a question over there.
Very nice project. So about the contact with the governmental organizations, apart from these emails you get, do you have also instant contact? Do you lay contact with them? Or,
yes. We currently are trying to set a meeting with the, there's this organization that does security stuff for municipalities. It's called the IBD, Informatiebeveiligingsdienst. And they said in a mail that they have an opinion on the way we scan. So that's good. It's good. I don't know what opinion they have, but they have one. And they were explicit about having an opinion. So that's interesting. And we're trying to set up a meeting to talk on what we should scan more, because we obviously should scan more. We don't comply with the Dutch baseline, so that's one thing. They're completely right about that. And also to work with them to maybe that they can do part of the service desk. So just to have the calls handled. Only the danger is that if there's somebody that doesn't have the technical know-how, that they might incorrectly change things, and that's the scary part doing this. Somebody from a municipality is actually working with the project. So that helps a lot with discovering subdomains, because they just added a lot of words to the list, and then we found a lot of more subdomains. That's really funny. But still, yes, we do work with those parties to see maybe the Dutch government wants to have this in their portfolio. I don't think it's stupid to do so. I think it's very wise to do so. Yep. Because the only government in the world that's currently doing something like this is the American government, strangely enough. So, and we're also talking to them, and maybe that they want to incorporate the features such as there's history in this map. It's because it's a map, it's very easy to see what the status is using colors, and maybe they want to add that to their stuff as well. So yes, absolutely, we talk with them. Yeah.
So one other question about the scanners. You told us that you were looking for another a bunch of scanners, for example, email. Are you also working with online scanners? Because, for example, for email, you have a pretty good online scanners. You can use them, I think, also with an API.
Yeah, even without an API, of course. We do use the TLS scan, which is very popular.
Oh yes, I know. Yeah.
This one is very popular. And it's, hello? 2 mics? Oh, the other one. Okay. 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 So yeah, this is a very popular service. We are using their API, 1 request a minute. Except if you have multiple servers, then you can do it faster, or they allow to give you a special contract. We'd rather not have a special contract because we want everybody to use the software without any within 5 minutes. So, but we use this because they update it. It's very well documented.
Yeah,
so
very extensive. Yeah.
All right. Any other question? Yeah. Yes. In most cases, each municipality runs their own infra, and what they're doing in terms of cost saving is that they're merging. So not only are the every year municipalities merge, that's a fact, and we might end up over time with just 30 of them or something. This huge red thing used to be 4 something. They merge, but also the ICT services and whatnot, they also merge behind the scenes. And what we don't have yet is there's a lot of they call samenwerkingsverbanden. So they work together, and they have a special subdomain or special website for that, and that also needs to be added to this map, of course. Exactly, shared service centers. Of course, we have support for sharing a domain across multiple organizations. That makes sense. So, yes, that's a lot of overhead. And yes, it's a lot of people that need to be trained. And they don't automate everything. They should. So, any other questions?
You mentioned you want to start scanning for email, the DNS records, telnet, things like that. Why scan yourself? Can't you use public repositories from a ZMAP project, for example?
Why do we scan ourselves? It has a few reasons. One is that we don't know how frequent they update. We know that we want to update at least every day. Also, best case, we want to make sure this project stands on its own, so you can clone it and make sure that it just works. Instead of, oh no, Qualys doesn't work anymore, or they now have a paid subscription. I'd rather see an open source Qualys scanner that does about the same stuff and has about the same grading than that we're using online services. So yeah, we can. One of the things that bothers me for a while is there's a very good scanner that's internet.nl, and they scan for email and such. Only that's also not open source, and I think they should be. So
ZMAP is, isn't it?
It is. ZMAP is open source, yes. So then ZMAP is also a software you can run and download, yeah. So that's something we can easily incorporate, of course. There's a lot of, like, if you look at the list of stuff we use to make this website, it's this list. So there's a lot of dependencies to make sure this runs. It's sometimes I wonder how it can run at all, but it does for months now and without any issue, so that's fine.
Also, if you are an open source project and you want to use Sentry, then you can request a free account. So you're not limited to the demo, like 1,000 issues per month or per day or something like that. You just have like a full account.
And even if you send them a free-line email, they might give it to you after back and forth.
Yeah, they're very nice. They're really an open source company. Really awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, we basically want to model after them if that is possible. So yeah, this is the Faalkaart project. So if you want to join, please step by at the desk. You know where I'm sitting next to this banner. If you want to have a certificate and join, want to make pull requests, please do so. If you want to know anything about the software, where to look, just ask, join the WhatsApp group, and yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Maybe instead of the WhatsApp group, we should promote
The Slack group, because that's public and people can join without needing to be invited.
Okay, we also have a Slack group, so we're migrating to that today.
I don't know. We can decide this right now. and
Okay, we're migrating
during
to
this
Slack.
meeting, action point.
We're migrating to Slack. We have a Slack group.
If you're migrating to Slack, just migrate to Mattermost. It's integrated to GitLab, and it's open.
Oh, okay.
Mattermost is basically the GitLab Slack.
I heard we're migrating to.
We are migrating to Mattermost.
Migrating today. It's decided or just joke? Is there an ILC badge for that?
Yeah.
Someday, probably. We're migrating back to what's it called again? Microsoft Messenger.
Yeah, MSN. We're doing MSN.
MS Comet Chat.
ICQ, right? Yeah. So yeah, no, it's basically a lot of fun and bantering and just having fun and trolling governments, and that's a great time. So you're welcome. That's it.
Maybe show the Go access stuff.
Oh,
You still have it?
what?
And there's the HTML extension.
Oh yeah. Okay. Moment.
How to get your list of vulnerabilities? Things like the click tracking and cross-site
There's a list that the government publishes. It's called Comply or Explain. and that shows a list of 4 or 5 techniques that they must implement. There's also the National Cybersecurity Center that used to publish a very extensive list of vulnerabilities that you should be checking for DigiD. And it makes sense to enforce that on everything. Let me search for this HTML file. These are the statistics of our testing. It's a bit hard to follow, but we have like 180 visitors. I think this is a day, or this is a week? This is a week. So like 130 visitors during the week. You can see that it's really municipalities that are looking, because they don't do anything in the weekend. You can perfectly see the weeks.
Yeah, that's today.
Yeah,
You can also see when so you see the walking hours.
yeah, you can see. Yeah, we can see that here. You see always a peak in the morning, and it slows in the.
This is without crawlers, by the way, and that kind of stuff. These are really unique visitors. You scroll down to like the distribution of OS. I don't know if it's
operating system, Windows.
and browsers, which is also quite common.
Internet Explorer.
And there's the time distribution, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. This is lunchtime.
And when did it stop working? Is it before or after 4 o'clock?
It's not here. It's 4 o'clock. And it starts at 8, so they start really early. That's fine.
There's also some really nice referrer URLs, like internal. You can see all the internal systems they're using. There's a lot of information you get from this.
Are you using these referral URLs to find new domains?
We should. We didn't have. These are just the bare Nginx logs, which are parsed.
There are also certificates that show other subdomains in the certificate, and it's another source that we should use to extract more subdomains. So yeah.
And check IP ranges around their main IP.
We could just ask RIPE for the entire subnet.
That doesn't really work, because a lot of municipalities also host. They act as a hosting provider, so they host a lot of other stuff for other parties. Things they subsidize and whatnot. And if you do that, I've done a short scan on the municipality of Leeuwarden, and they have, I think, a few million IP addresses. I don't know, but yeah, that doesn't really work. Okay.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I think this we will decide where we are going to communicate, I guess.
Yep. We will put it on the website somewhere.
Yeah.
So you can find it there.
Anything else?
So how big is the group of developers?
It's me and Johan. Yeah, it's very small, but you can see like we do a lot of work.
I believe GitHub also has a punch card.
Yeah, you can see here.
Activity.
Oh, there's the even fancier one.
Yeah, activity.
This is just a report.
Or no, or the other one above it. Details? No.
But commits might work. You see, there's a lot of work being done over time, and this is the repository we moved to after we thought we should rename things, and things were getting really slow in GitHub, so we'll just clean it and start over. So, and you see already a few on the commits here. So about every day something happens.
I see it on 2 versions of this work.
Yeah. You want me to do the development stuff, yeah.
And basically we subject ourselves to the same requirements that we put on other contributors, basically. So if we want to make a change, we have to do the same procedure. We have to make a pull request and go through all the same testing, and only if it passes we can continue on. So we test our own procedures as well. So we feel the pain. It's not like we are hacking away and other people contribute and have to do all the stuff, and then and have to do a lot of work. We have to do the same amount of work. So we know how painful our procedures are, and we try to optimize them every time. So yesterday I pushed a change where basically the initial setup changed from like 10 commands to a single command, and you have a completely running environment with a single command without worrying about separate services, because it's built up of a lot of individual components for better deployment and scalability. But yeah, we brought that into one single application for development. So it's really easy to get started and to run your own instance and to do small fixes really fast. Basically, you could within 5 minutes you could have it running.
Yeah, that's always the goal, to have the software running within 5 minutes without knowledge. That's the challenge, yeah. So that because we want to have journalists in other countries outside of the EU running this. So, and there are some countries that are not as friendly or that have another impact when you release something like this, because the culture is different. It's like you have failed in something, so you will be punished or fired or whatever, and it matters that that's why we don't deploy outside of Europe, and that parties that know their own country should deploy in other countries such as Japan.
Okay, speaking about journalists, I was thinking about the idea of packaging into an application, so you can just download like the application as a standalone thing, run it on your desktop, and you have like a film app for your own.
Cool.
That should be pretty trivial because it's just Python and one dependency, and if we can package that into a single blob, and we can just push it. So might be somewhere next week that you can just double click and have a film app.
So what I'm currently writing is municipalities change over time, so the shapes change over time, which is annoying because you have to have their history and select the right point in time, and it has to be a really fast query, so that's interesting. And so the geometry change and the names of the organizations change over time, but they share the same URLs and history. And I'm currently writing something that you have that you can slide here and see the shapes change and such. Now you can just see the colors change.
If the shapes changes, then probably if the name changes, they get new domains, but the old ones don't go offline.
No, what we've thought long and hard about this, and you can see the whole reasoning in one of the code that actually does this. And what we do is we make a new organization, and they just are added to the URLs that are already there. So because we here show only the URLs which are relevant for the organization at that time. And also the URLs might not exist for a month, and then they start existing again, and that's all being accounted for. And that's where some insane complexity that you don't really see here is actually that actually is implemented.
Where are people getting their SSL certificates from these days? Is it all Let's Encrypt, or is it?
Staat er Nederlanders CA?
Yeah.
Oh, you have your own CA.
GoDaddy.
Okay.
Mandatory for government websites.
Right. Okay.
I really don't know. We don't do any statistics about that.
I heard StarTLS is cheap nowadays.
It's useless.
That's why it's cheap.
They changed it somehow, right?
Yeah, you need to enable a flag in your Chrome settings, and then you can have the old behavior back. You need to go to the developer, Command Shift J, security, and then view certificates.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Then, like the most recent Chrome, it's a flag to enable again.
Yeah. So this is just global site. It's not even or APN has rebranded. I don't know. I don't think so. We don't do statistics about that. We don't think that adds to privacy. So.
Yeah. Just curious. I'm guessing yours is Let's Encrypt.
Sorry?
I'm guessing yours is from Let's Encrypt.
It's
yes.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.